Ian Book's first NFL career start didn't turn out the way that we expected. Maybe it's the way that we expected, but not the way that he wanted it to go. The New Orleans Saints keep on dropping games, and their chances of making the NFC playoff race, hey, it's well in doubt. However, the Miami Dolphins, that's the bigger story. Winning their 7th straight game after starting 1-7 at one point of the season, and Tua Tagovailoa and company makes a strong case of making the AFC wild card spot. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Time2Football. Glad you guys are able to join us. My name is Hassan Khan, the host of this channel that we like to call Time2Football. Glad you guys are tuning in for this wonderful Tuesday morning that we have planned for you guys. Got the lights in the back for the orange and the teal to commemorate the aqua, actually, as a matter of fact, if we want to get technical, to commemorate the Dolphins' win. So they, based off a strong performance from the defense and Jalen Waddle as well, move on up to 8-7 for the New Orleans Saints. They drop down to 7-8. They are still one game behind the Saints are in making the wild card spot. But however, it's kind of iffy. I mean, in the NFC, you've got 5 teams already clinched. That means the other 2 teams are up for grabs. But really, I mean, hypothetically, realistically, it's going to come down to, okay, which 8-7 team that's currently 8-7 is going to make the playoffs, because you got to hope that like some teams lose and then you win out, and it just gets kind of tough in the NFC on that side if you're 7-8. On the AFC side, the Dolphins being 8-7, they're tied now with the Chargers, with the Raiders, and they're well in position to make an AFC wild card spot. As a matter of fact, they have the tiebreaker over the Baltimore Ravens, so that's going to help out a lot for the Miami Dolphins. But a big victory for them to continue to move forward and get their chances higher and higher of making the wild card spot. What we got planned for this episode of Time2Football is, again, every day we talk about NFL news and notes, so we're going to get you caught up on everything going on there. We're going to be talking with you guys on the live chat as well. As a matter of fact, if you guys are tuning in live with us on YouTube as we are streaming this, I want to go ahead and check in with you guys. Adam Marcotte saying, good morning, thumbs up if you're in the championship club. Yes, like this video as well. If you're in the championship club, I mean, we had a plethora of people tuning in during the live show yesterday talking about, hey, I made the championship. I had this guy on my team, that guy, this guy, that guy. Hey, congratulations to you guys. I made the championship in one of my leagues as well. And actually, as a matter of fact, you may not believe it, but this is the only the 3rd time ever in my life that I've been to the fantasy football championship. I've played fantasy football for 9 years, and now 3rd time only. And I've never won. I just had I'll have good teams, but that week the players just don't do good. So, I mean, hopefully I'll have a better turnaround and better outcome this time around, but we'll see. It's definitely up in the air. All right, so before we get into the NFL news and notes, every Tuesday what we like to do is we have a Player of the Week segment, but this isn't just any regular Player of the Week. This is the player that wanted it the most. We call this award the Hungriest Player of the Week because it's someone that doesn't have the best stats, but really took advantage of the opportunity given to them and proved that they wanted it the most. So for Week 16, our Hungriest Player of the Week. Hungriest Player of the Week, the one that wanted it the most. Again, not the best stats. I mean, actually, as a matter of fact, this guy has only had 2 receptions in this game, but they were very, very important receptions. The Hungriest Player of the Week. There's a lot of honorable mentions, for instance, Keyshawn Vaughn, 7 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Take advantage of the opportunity after being played on special teams for most of the part of his season, of his career, actually. With Leonard Fournette missing now, Ronald Jones had to step in. Giovanni Bernard is missing as well. Keyshawn Vaughn stepped in. Yes, he is a candidate for Hungriest Player of the Week. Nick Foles as well, stepping in. Should have been the starter for the Chicago Bears over Andy Dalton to begin with. They shouldn't have signed Andy Dalton, but hey, I mean, Nick Foles steps in, delivers a win. But I'm going to talk about the player that Nick Foles played with in that victory with the Chicago Bears, and this week's Hungriest Player of the Week, Chicago Bears tight end Jimmy Graham. Wait, hold up. Why Jimmy Graham? What's up with this? Why is Jimmy Graham supposed to be the hungriest player of the week. By the way, his head is cut off right here. I don't know what the heck is going on. Whatever. A headless Jimmy Graham is your Chicago Bears hungriest player of the week. And listen, the reason being is because he went into this game against the Seattle Seahawks, his former team, and he had the game-winning touchdown reception. Only 2 receptions for 30 yards, but it was very, very important for Jimmy Graham to come in here and beat his former team, leading his team to a 25-24 victory. The balls and Matt Nagy to go for 2 points and actually being successful with that Damiere Byrd back at the end zone. Oh my gosh, beautiful grab by Damiere Byrd. But Jimmy Graham put them in that position, and that is why he is this week's hungriest player of the week. Mainly it's because it's against his former team, the Seattle Seahawks. Didn't work out in Seattle, goes to Chicago. You know, he's been bouncing around team to team, and he finally has that moment where he scores a touchdown against his former team. Actually, as a member of the Chicago Bears, he's scored many last-minute touchdowns. If you remember the MVP game with Mitch Trubisky on Nickelodeon in the playoffs between the Saints and the Bears last year, Jimmy Graham had that walk-off touchdown, but it wasn't to win the game. It was just he scored a touchdown and ran straight to the locker room. So something about him against his former teams. He delivers. NFL news and notes that we have for you guys here today on December 28th. Some COVID inactives and some COVID news as well. Let's go ahead and mention that before we get into all the injuries and all the other updates that's going on with the NFL. For COVID, the players that have been activated. Let's start with the good news. The players that have been taken off the COVID-19 list that have been activated that will be playing. We've got Austin Eckler that's been activated. So Justin Jackson, hey, you did your job. You did amazing against the Houston Texans, but it's going to be the Austin Eckler show moving forward. Kareem Hunt has been activated. Brashad Perriman. After Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller, what we expected to be the number 2 or 2 of the top 3 wide receivers for Tampa Bay, they did almost nothing in that game. Tyler Johnson, as a matter of fact, did nothing. Brashad Perriman being activated means, okay, well, maybe now Perriman steps in as the number 2 wide receiver behind Antonio Brown. We're going to get into why he's the number 2 in just a minute. Jared Goff has been activated off the COVID-19 list. He's going to be making his return against the Seattle Seahawks. And Allen Robinson has been activated as well. Now, if we talk about the COVID-19 players that have been placed on the COVID-19 list, Matthew Judon for the New England Patriots, big blow for them. He's been placed on that list. David Johnson for the Houston Texans. Julio Jones, already dealing with a hamstring injury. And now he's going to be placed on that COVID-19 list. Actually, as a matter of fact, this is kind of sad, but also funny at the same time. Julio Jones, when I was writing down his name and making the notes for the show, I was writing down Julio Jones, and then on my iPhone, you know how it like predicts whatever text is next. So I typed in Julio, then it predicted Jones, and then it predicted hamstring right after that. That was the next word. I typed Julio Jones hamstring so many times in my phone that my phone was like, hey, Julio Jones, you typed in Julio Jones, you want to use the word hamstring? Kind of sad, but also kind of funny at the same time. Okay, so we talked about Brashad Perriman. Why is he a potential number 2 wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Because Mike Evans has been placed on that COVID-19 list. He's already dealing with his own injury, a hamstring injury on his own. But we want to talk about him being placed on that COVID-19 list because his status is now going to be in doubt for this weekend. So we'll see if Mike Evans is able to be available for this weekend. And then Josh Reynolds of the Detroit Lions placed on the COVID-19 list. His playing time, his availability is in doubt against the Seattle Seahawks. That's your COVID-19 news for today. All right, get into the NFL news. Matt Nagy is coaching as if he is going to get fired. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. But he's coaching like he's going to be finishing out the regular season. He's going to be coaching the last 2 games of the season. Teams are now available to bring in any coaching candidates they want for interviews. So the Jaguars are already doing this. They're bringing in Jim Caldwell and Doug Peterson for head coaching interviews. Jim Caldwell, very underrated coach, actually, as a matter of fact. He went to the Super Bowl with the Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning, and then it just didn't work out when Peyton Manning was out for that year. In 2011, he got fired. He got hired by the Detroit Lions. Not a bad coach at all for the Detroit Lions. He wasn't like amazing, but he went to the playoffs with the Lions, and then they decided to go down the direction of Matt Patricia for some reason. I don't know. But some players were upset about that he got fired. Now, Jim Caldwell is a candidate for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Byron Leftwich is also another candidate, but I don't think they're gonna be bringing him in for an interview just yet. I mean, they have to get approval from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers first. But as far as the free agent coaches that you have, Jim Caldwell is going to be interviewing for the Jaguars, and then Doug Peterson is coming in as well to be interviewed by the Jacksonville Jaguars, former Eagles head coach, Super Bowl winning head coach, as a matter of fact. But that ties in back with Matt Nagy because these head coaching interviews can be happening currently. Today's the first day that these coaching interviews can be happening, but they have to get approval from the other teams if they want to interview coordinators on another team. And then as well, Matt Nagy is still coaching, so if you bring in another candidate in the last 2 weeks while he's still coaching, I mean, it's like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Like, you should be, like, I get the idea. Matt Nagy's like, I get the idea, right? So they're not doing that. They're not doing that. They're going to instead, seems like they're just going to finish out the season. Matt Nagy's just going to coach the last 2 games. Many people thought that he would get fired. But maybe that game against the Seattle Seahawks, winning that, might have saved his job for at least 2 more games. And then they're going to bring in some head coaching candidates. Okay, so this is some bionic Superman news that's coming to you. Cam Akers is on the path to an amazing, unprecedented recovery from a torn Achilles. He tore this back in July. We thought he was out for the regular season. We thought he was going to be out for the postseason. Now there's a possibility he could be coming back as early as Week 17 against the Baltimore Ravens. That's correct. Darrell Henderson has been placed on injured reserve with an MCL sprain, meaning that for the next 3 weeks, it's going to be Sony Michel and Cam Akers leading the backfield. Akers available to be playing this Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. Sean McVay is hopeful that he can return this weekend. That is amazing. That is incredible. We're in a keeper league for you guys to play fantasy football. And I added Cam Akers on my bench thinking, okay, I have so many options. I could go Jamar Chase, who got in the late round. I could go Deebo Samuel, who I got in the late round. I could go Travis Etienne. I could go Cam Akers because I'm just stashing these players on my bench, right? So by the time next year rolls around, the draft rolls around, I'll keep up with NFL news and notes and see okay, who actually is the best player for me to keep because I can only keep one of them. Cam Akers was one of those guys that I stashed on my bench the beginning of the season, before the season even started, because I was like, oh, no one's going to draft him. I'm going to stash him so I can keep him for next year, right? I did not expect this at all for him to return. And I was tempted this week to start him. But then I was thinking to myself, no, this is his first game back. Just take it easy. Don't play him in fantasy football. But the fact that he's available in Week 17, that's crazy news for Cam Akers. Crazy recovery that he's making. Jordan Howard is dealing with a stinger, but he is hopeful to play this Sunday against the Washington football team. Miles Sanders, we mentioned yesterday morning, I think, that he has a broken hand, and he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. They're not going to be placing him on injured reserve because they're hopeful that Miles Sanders can return by the playoffs. But Jordan Howard is dealing with a stinger. Boston Scott right now is the only healthy back, as well as Kenneth Gainwell in that backfield. Jimmy Garoppolo, UCL tear in his right thumb and chipped his hand a bit, has a fracture. Trey Lance is in line to get the start this Sunday against the Houston Texans. And I think it's becoming more and more aware that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be sitting this week, and Trey Lance is going to be the man that's good to go. Rashad Breeland, after disappointing performances with the Minnesota Vikings, signs with the Arizona Cardinals. So he was one of the most coveted free agents in 2018 after his successful tenure with the Green Bay Packers, and now it's just getting downhill and downhill and downhill. Now he's signed with the Arizona Cardinals, a Super Bowl contending team. Let's see if things can turn around with Rashad Breeland. Mike Williams won't play this week in Week 17 because Brandon Staley said, he didn't say anything. He just said Mike Williams won't be available. And then that just led us to believe, okay, yeah, that means that Mike Williams is unvaccinated. He got COVID last week, was unavailable for last week's game against the Houston Texans, and now this Sunday, he is more than likely going to be unavailable against the Denver Broncos, as well as Gabriel Davis as well. If you saw that ads and drops video that I came out with earlier this morning, I put down Gabriel Davis as a must add because I was thinking, oh, he had COVID. He's got clear COVID-19 protocols. He should be fine. And then it was brought to my attention actually by some Time2Football viewers. Hey, man, Gabriel Davis is actually unvaccinated. Oh, man. It's so hard to keep up with who's vaccinated and who's not. So he's out. Isaiah McKenzie is going to be stepping in for the Buffalo Bills. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is week to week with a bruised shoulder. More than likely, is not going to be playing this Sunday, but they haven't ruled it out just yet. It's a long shot, but there is a chance that he could be playing. And actually, that's it. That's the NFL news and notes for today. Aftershock Value saying, sorry, I'm late. Grand Rising. Dude, don't apologize. Don't apologize. What you apologizing for? Hey, you're here. You're here. Thank you for tuning in. Now what we're going to be talking about actually is a segment where I was like, okay, we're getting to the playoff postseason. This is where it matters. This is where we determine who the best teams in the NFL are and who aren't the best teams in the NFL. There's a lot of great teams out there, really. And every team has a lot of flaws, right? No team is absolutely perfect, but some teams are very, very close. So I wanted to take a moment to talk about those 5 teams that are the most well-rounded teams in the NFL. So when we talk about the most well-rounded teams, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're an honorable mention, and I'm not going to include them on this 5-team list because their secondary all season long has given up a lot of plays. They're kind of weak in the run game right now with Leonard Fournette out. I know Ronald Jones can step in. He had a great game. Keyshawn Vaughn did as well. But they're kind of hurting a bit, and there's just been too many inconsistencies with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So they're an honorable mention. If I had to name 6 teams that are the most well-rounded, then I would definitely put the Bucs in there. But mainly because of their secondary, I don't know. They've given up a lot of big plays, so I had to rule them out for this list. But let me go ahead and talk about the 5 teams going from number 5 down to number 1. So first, number 5 on the list of the most well-rounded teams in the NFL, you've got the Buffalo Bills. I know you're probably thinking like, oh, the Bucs beat the Bills. Why are the Bills over the Bucs in this most well-rounded team? Well, here's the thing. They've had a little bit more say on offense. Like they've been better on offense, better on defense as well than the Buccaneers overall. So the Bucs, maybe their offense, their passing offense might be better than the Bills, but if you want to take their offense in general, you want to compare it to the Bills' offense, you want to compare the defenses as well. I'm taking everything into account. So why would you say that the Bills are better than the Bucs? Because the Bills' defense have been giving up less big plays than the Bucs' defense. That's pretty much what it comes down to. They've been stout in the pass defense. They've been stout in the run game as well. I mean, some games they'll give up some big plays here and there. And they've been inconsistent, losing some games when they needed to win those games. But other than that, they have a great passing offense. Their defense is tough, and they've been tough against the pass as well. They're 6th in the NFL in total yards, 1st in the NFL in defensive yards given up. The run game, I mean, Devin Singletary is now coming around. He's starting to get into the rhythm and starting to get into the groove of things. So the run game is kind of lacking. That's why they're at number 5 only. But I would say that the Bills are, if you're talking about the most well-rounded teams in the NFL, I would definitely put the Buffalo Bills up there. The next team, most well-rounded in the NFL, number 4, the Los Angeles Rams. Listen, they're great everywhere, but their pass defense has given up some big plays. I honestly would have thought that the Rams were legit, without a doubt, Super Bowl contenders after the first 1, 2, 3 weeks of the season, right? And then after that, you kind of see them, okay, they're losing some games. Oh, well, they lost to the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are a tough team. Oh, they lost more and more games that they should have won. They've given up some big plays. This game, Monday night game against the 49ers, they didn't look good. And so there's just some inconsistencies with the Rams, and it's mainly because of their defense that has given up some big plays. Also, their offense, I love Matthew Stafford. I love Cooper Kupp. But, I mean, at times they've been exposed, right? But I still put them over the Bills because they have an established run game. Like Sony Michel has been looking great the last 2 or 3 weeks. They're a top 10 offense, but they're a middle of the pack defense, so that's why they're only at number 4. Number 3, especially recently during this win streak that they've been on, the Kansas City Chiefs, most well-rounded teams. I mean, they started 3-5 at one point, and now they're looking at being one of the, or maybe it was 3-4. Regardless, they're one of the better teams in the AFC. They're actually the top seed in the AFC right now. This offense has turned it around. This defense has turned it around as well. Only giving up about, I want to say during this winning streak, maybe around 12 to 13 points a game. Like this defense, if you want to talk about the most well-rounded teams, I would say that they're the reason why I would put them number 3 on this list. Now, they would be number 1 if the whole entire season they were played the way that they've been playing as of late, but because of the beginning of the season, the first half of the season, they haven't been looking great. That's why I dropped them down to number 3. But the Chiefs offense, Chiefs defense, all of it, all areas have been looking great as of late. Team number 2, and this might surprise you because you might be thinking to yourself, well, then who's team number 1? But the Green Bay Packers, the top seed in the NFC, 12-3 right now. Why are they only at number 2? Well, let's first talk about the positives, right? The Packers offense, their pass game with Aaron Rodgers, great. No question about it. Their run game, great. 2 great running backs in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, awesome. The more the better. Their defense has been great as well. People don't want to talk about the Packers defense, but the Packers defense has kept them alive in many games when the Packers offense has been kind of stuttering a bit, right? So why are they only at number 2 and not at number 1, being the top seed in the NFC? It's because as of late, you may not have caught it, but as of late, in the last 2-3 games, their passing defense has kind of struggled a bit. And I wanted to factor that in. So the Packers' passing defense, because they've been lacking just a bit, still very good, but lacking just a bit, I got to put them at number 2. Got to put them at number 2. So that leads us to our number 1 team. Who's the most well-rounded team in the NFL? Listen, this isn't a fan favorite. It really isn't. But the Dallas Cowboys, I got to give them credit. I really do. You have 2 great running backs in Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. You have 3 great wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup. A tight end in Dalton Schultz. A defensive line that's led by DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons that can create those turnovers. A secondary that is led by Trayvon Diggs that can get those turnovers and those interceptions. Oh, and by the way, the guy under center, the quarterback, you might have heard of him, but one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. This team is one of the most well-rounded teams in the NFL, Super Bowl contenders without a doubt, and they are almost flawless. I say almost because they've given up some big plays here and there. They've looked like they've struggled a bit, and they've given up some last-second victories. They should have won some last-second games against the Chargers and against the Buccaneers, but ended up not winning those. But if you compare the pool between the Dallas Cowboys and the other well-rounded teams in the NFL, I'd got to put the Dallas Cowboys up there at top. I really do. Well-rounded almost everywhere. One of the best defenses in the NFL, one of the best offenses in the NFL. So to recap, the 5 most well-rounded teams. Number 5, Buffalo Bills. Number 4, Los Angeles Rams. Number 3, Kansas City Chiefs. Number 2, the Green Bay Packers. And number 1, the Dallas Cowboys. Leave your thoughts, leave your comments, leave your opinions down below. Who's the most well-rounded team in the NFL? But that leads us now to the live chat. Hey guys, let's talk. I'm going to hang out with you guys for the next few minutes and just acknowledge what's going on here. Made the ship, baby. It's Gizmo. Congrats, man. Congrats. That's awesome. Love it, man. Love it. TB12 Goatman, I played Justin Jackson in Miami defense. Let's go. Nice, man. Nice. You had a big payday. I know that Justin Jackson and Miami both, they paid off in, what was that defensive game? Oh my gosh, the Miami Dolphins defense looked great. Aloha, y'all. Waddle got me into the big game. Down 22 PPR points. Wow. And Waddle got you back? Dude, Waddle is the best. I mean, I guess it's Jamar Chase, but Is Jalen Waddle in the conversation of being the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL this year? I mean, since teams have been locking up Jamar Chase as of late, I mean, he's already over 100 receptions for the year, right? Or he's close to it. He's close to it. So I don't know, man. Jalen Waddle, he's looking pretty good. TB12. If Waller is a must start and same question, if Waller plays, is he a must start? And same question for Elijah Mitchell. Okay, so I kind of took a week off last week from answering fantasy football questions, and it was the greatest week of my life. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I recommend it. I mean, you probably don't get asked fantasy football questions. A lot of you guys don't, but I mean, I needed that, man. I needed that because fantasy football, I've said so many times on the show, like, I'm just going to finish out the season, and then, like, I'm going to have, like, a weekly segment. I'm so excited. Okay, so for you guys that are fantasy football fans and tuning in right now, I mean, I'll just go ahead and announce this. I don't know when I'm going to start doing this. Maybe, like, February, March, when free agency hits. I don't know. But, like, I'm going to do an every week update based off of the news that you hear in the NFL, and I'm going to make, like, rankings, and then, like, every week be like, oh, Ramondre Stevenson is getting rave reviews in OTAs. That means for the season, I project that he's going to get go from averaging 4 yards a carry to 4.2 yards per carry, and that's going to increase his fantasy football numbers and everything. And if you tune in during the preseason for our fantasy football rankings, like that spreadsheet was money for many of you guys. If you follow that spreadsheet, more than likely you made the championship. I follow that spreadsheet, and I made the championship. So for you guys that are fantasy football fans, tune in for that. Like during the off season, ooh, keep up just one video a week. You just watch that. You will be a connoisseur in fantasy football for 2022. But anyways, going back to what I was saying. Yeah, I took a week off last week because like I was just getting burnt out and fantasy football, it's not like my number one passion, right? And so then I was just getting bombarded with questions and people were treating it like it's a customer service. Like I work in customer service, then they were Karens and they were asking me questions. And it was just like overwhelming too. Like I hate when people like give you like pick two and then they just like give like their whole team from like 3 different leagues. And it's just like, man, that's a lot. If you want to ask like a simple question like this, TB12 GOAT, man, you understand. You pass the vibe. As the basic girls would say on TikTok, you understood the assignments. Gosh, the most oversaid phrase in the world. Yeah, I'm more than happy to answer just a simple question. If Waller plays, is he a must start? Yes. If Waller plays, oh yeah. I mean, Foster Moreau hasn't been looking the greatest, but he's done enough. So that gives me to believe that when Darren Waller comes back, he's going to be a must start. And Elijah Mitchell, yeah. Oh yeah. Like I think early start to the starts and sits video, I started working on that list, and I have Elijah Mitchell down. I don't know if he's going to be playing. Now, I mean, Kyle Shanahan, it gives me a little bit of hope that last week before Thursday's game, Kyle Shanahan said for that week of practice, we're hopeful that Elijah Mitchell can be playing. So they wanted him to come back, and they were like, oh, we think that he's, like, they didn't rule him out. They didn't say, like, oh, no, it's short week, like he's not going to be playing. They said, no, he could be playing against the Tennessee Titans. We're just going to see practice how it works out. And the fact that he had a long break, well rested, he could be limited in practice this week. And if he is, Elijah Mitchell's going to be playing. And against the Houston Texans, I like the matchup a lot. Emerald Eyes, dab emoji, dab emoji, dab emoji. Amon-Ra St. Brown looking pretty too. Yeah. Oh my gosh. What was it? Past 4 games. 12 targets, 12 targets, 11 targets, 11 targets. I think the stat still exists, but it's the top 3 wide receivers in the last 4 games as far as targets go. Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Top 3 in targets. Top 3 out of any other wide receiver. Maybe he's the best that the Lions have. I don't know how he's going to figure out for next year. Just depends on what other wide receivers, if Jared Goff stays there. Like, it depends on a lot of things. But, like, for this season, to close it out, like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, man, you got to keep riding with him, right? Got to keep riding with him. Go with a hot streak. Rob Dale, MVS, Tony, Elijah Moore, or Isaiah McKenzie? Dude, it's going to come down between MVS and Isaiah McKenzie. And I like MVS because of the outcome that he had against the Minnesota Vikings previously, like 10 targets. And I don't know if he scored the touchdown, but he had a long reception. He might have scored the touchdown. Someone fact check me on that. But that was 3-4 weeks ago, right? So MVS coming back from COVID. I like him. And I think he's safer than Isaiah McKenzie. I don't think you could go wrong with either one. I mean, Cole Beasley's unvaccinated, right? And he's on the COVID-19 list. So he's going to be out. Gabriel Davis is unvaccinated as well. He's going to be out. Beasley and Gabriel Davis, they both are known for standing side by side on their views, right? So both those receivers are out. So Isaiah McKenzie and Stephon Diggs will be the number 1 and number 2, right? It's up in the air. Isaiah McKenzie, I think it's boom or bust. MVS is more the safer choice if that kind of helps you out. But both of them, if I could find a way to start any or both of them, I would. I definitely would. Mike saying, I bet answering fantasy gets tiring. Still here because I'm a league junkie. Yeah, it does get tiring a bit, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm just going to close out the season. And then I'm still going to do fantasy football on this channel. There's going to be other stuff that I'm doing that's my main priority, but I'm still going to be doing fantasy football, so tune in for that. But, like, as far as answering questions, oh, man, I'm just doing it this week because it's the fantasy championship, right? I'm not going to leave you guys, high and dry after just helping you guys out all season and then not helping you for the championship. So, I'll answer questions this week, but let me just close out the season and then reassess going into next season. Thoughts on Trey Lance if Jimmy G can't go? I love Trey Lance. I freaking love Trey Lance. He put up 20 fantasy points against the Arizona Cardinals in a fantasy football perspective. Against the Arizona Cardinals, put up 20 points, right? And then his first NFL career start against the Seattle Seahawks, I believe it was 14, almost 15 points. Not bad, but he has like a safe floor, right? Even if he throws an interception, which he did against the Arizona Cardinals, safe floor because of his rushing ability. So I love him against the Houston Texans. I really do. This is going to be a run-first team if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't play in this game. They're going to run the ball down your throat with either Jeff Wilson or Elijah Mitchell, depending on who plays, and Trey Lance is going to be factored into a lot of those running plays as well. So I like that a lot. Big day ahead for Debo, for Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, Trey Lance, all those 49ers, man. All of those 49ers, big days ahead of them. Hey, I'm in a championship, my friend, Emerald Eyes. Just hope Lamar Jackson comes back this week. Fingers crossed, yes. Tyler Huntley on that COVID-19 list, he's going to be activated. John Harbaugh earlier was asked by the media, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think that they're going to be coming back? It's not really newsworthy, but John Harbaugh said, yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that they could be coming back. Now, a lot of coaches say that about a lot of people. Like Dan Campbell has been saying that about DeAndre Swift. Kyle Shanahan has been saying that about Elijah Mitchell. John Harbaugh has been saying that about Lamar Jackson. None of these guys have come back yet. But John Harbaugh says, yeah, I'm hopeful that Lamar Jackson or Tyler Huntley could be activated this Sunday. Ulysses, you probably didn't hear the rant that I just went on about fantasy football. Yeah, I mean, it's, gosh. All right, fine. I'll answer this question. I'll answer. It's kind of lengthy. Like, what I'm talking about is like, hey, Sony Michel or Darrell Williams? Oh, 2 options right there. Oh, yeah, Sony, right? When it's like giving me 5 players, I'm like, oh, man, I got to read. Sony. I got to pick 2. DeAndre, sure. Dolphins, Bears, Browns, defense. What should I play? Bears. The Bears. All right, before these fantasy questions get out of hand, because I gave you guys a window to answer, I'm going to go ahead and sign off right here. But hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in to this episode of Time2Football. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel and you guys tune in every single day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow's show is going to be filled with power rankings that we're going to get you guys caught up ahead of Week 17. We close the chapter on Week 16. We look ahead to Week 17. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Time2Football. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as the basic girl would say, understood the assignments.